everyone. Welcome to Reinsurance Business TV as we take a look at one of the market's revamped entrants and how it is not just existing, but thriving in today's market. That firm is Brit Re, and today we welcome its Bermuda head of office, Jonathan Stephenson. Jonathan, welcome to Insurance Business TV.
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to chat a little bit about Brit Re and what we're up to here in Bermuda.
Well, before we get into the success of the firm, Jonathan, just tell us a little bit about you and your background in the industry.
Sure. I've been in the reinsurance business, I think, since about 1990, following an undergraduate degree. I call it the life plan at McGill University. I studied math and physics long enough to realize I wasn't smart enough to be a mathematician or a physicist. So I went from there into finance and studied, kind of math applied to money. I'm coming out of an undergraduate degree, a little bit older than my cohorts in the industry, who all wanted to be investment bankers and stockbrokers and bond traders. And I thought I wanted to do something a little bit different than that. And we'd actually discussed reinsurance in a risk management, sort of a hedging strategies course in applied corporate finance. And I thought that was interesting. I mean, it was, math applied to the aggregation of risk was interesting. And I thought, ultimately there are parties in that industry that are exchanging big checks. So I came out of university with the desire to pursue a reinsurance career. I was in Montreal. There isn't a huge industry in Montreal from a reinsurance perspective. So ultimately, I found my way to Toronto and pounded the streets, knocking on doors, trying to find my way into the reinsurance business, and ultimately was fortunate enough to be hired by Guy Carpenter in I think 1991. So a few years ago, I've spent my time in Toronto, a little bit of time in London, some in New York, went and ran their operations in Sydney, Australia, came back to Canada and spent a few years working at Aon, and then returned to Guy Carpenter 6 or 7 years ago, and then had the opportunity to discuss this opportunity with Brit. Interestingly, my career, for all of my broking career in whichever shop I worked at, I always had some exposure to the Fairfax companies as clients and, of course, as markets. So I've known the business quite well for the entirety of my career. So the opportunity to be a part of it was too good an opportunity to resist. I kind of jokingly say that the benefit of doing a good job as a reinsurance broker for Fairfax is a job. So I was offered the opportunity to come and stand in front of the relaunch of Brit Re in 2024, and have been here on the island for about a year, thoroughly enjoying it and thoroughly enjoying the participating in the opportunity to build out the business.
Well, it sounds like you are certainly well-traveled. In fact, maybe Bermuda was the final box to tick. But
international light.
But as you mentioned, the Brit Re, of course, did relaunch last year. So
yes.
Tell us, what has the market reception been so far?
In short, it's been very good. But I think it's worth digging into the history a little bit, which is that Brit Re has actually been on the island since 2017, and that's 10 years into its history as a firm. Founded first in 2007. So our principal business, of course, was reinsuring our own book of insurance emanating from the Lloyd's syndicate in London. We felt that there was an opportunity to leverage the great brand that had been established over the 30-year history of Brit, to leverage the balance sheet that had been established here in Bermuda, and ultimately, and with the backing of Fairfax, build out a third-party reinsurance business here in the Bermuda market. Yeah, so let me just say that Brit's brand and its existing reinsurance franchise has actually allowed us to approach the business market here with a product offering that's geared to differentiating us, taking advantage of our rating, our balance sheet, and the backing of the firm, responding to the demand that we see among clients for additional Bermuda capacity, but that's capacity across different product lines. So rather than an entry into just property cat, which we had been writing already, we wanted to combine that with cyber and casualty underwriting to offer products across a multi-line offering, slightly different than some of our competitors on the island. So how has the market reception been so far? I think I would characterize it as more than proving the investment thesis. We relaunched the business at an event about a year ago, and we chose the Masterworks Museum of Bermudian Art to host that in. And that wasn't just because it's an interesting venue and not just because it houses a great deal of interesting art, but also because it was a statement about Brit Re's intent to establish ourselves as a long-term, participant in the market here in Bermuda, which I think was a message that we're keen to relay, because we have been here for a while, but not necessarily as visible as we'd like to be in the third-party reinsurance market. The reception has actually been fantastic, and the brokers have been very, very responsive to our arrival, and we've been very fortunate to establish a great deal of new relationships, building on some existing ones and creating new ones with a good cross-section of high-quality insurance enterprises, and we've been very encouraged by that. We came into the market with 2025 with some fairly ambitious plans for the business. And I can say that we've met those plans or exceeded them from a property and casualty and cyber perspective, which of course we're very pleased with that outcome. I think as a final comment in response to the question, I'd say that Brit Re, we tried to be quite visible this year, and taking the opportunity to put Brit Re in front of the press, in front of conferences. We've made sure that we've attended the CIAB, the APCIA, Baden-Baden most recently. And with each of those events, I think we've been afforded the opportunity not just to spend time with the insurance company executives and the brokers that support them, but also with industry peers, finding our way so gently into the marketplace. And the reception has been very, very good. I think we're confident that there is more appetite in the reinsurance market for more Brit Re.
Yeah, well, clearly you've ticked the boxes on your 2025 goals. So just outline for us your plans for growth as we head into 2026.
Well, it's probably worth reiterating that our focus for the year has been close to the historical appetites of Brit's existing reinsurance franchise. And in very broad terms, that has been, although not exclusively, it's been really about North American property catastrophe business and the support of proportional casualty business emanating from the US, but brought to us via both US reinsurers, some of the insurers rather, global insurers, and obviously the Bermuda-based insurance companies as well. And we did that purposefully. And I would say that the benefits of starting with a core appetite that's already well known to the group is it allows us to not just focus on the underwriting and the results that we were trying to generate, but also take a little bit of a look introspectively to ensure that the machinery inside Brit is actually fit for purpose, that we are, that we're building out our capabilities to match the operational demands of the reinsurance business here in Bermuda. So when I say the machinery, I'm talking about data ingestion and modeling and our underwriting processes and making sure that we have the fleet of foot and responsiveness and are shaping a business to support our growth aspirations. I think in my mind, it's key to understand where Brit Re's capabilities and appetites are relevant to our clients, and to work to sort of match those appetites and on those evolving capabilities with our clients' needs. In 2026, to answer the question, so fairly specifically about growth aspirations, I think we'd focus on really three main areas. I mentioned we've been very fortunate to establish sort of beachheads with some very high quality insurers over the last year, and of course, the first port of call would be to try and grow those as we head into 2026. We'll, of course, have the team here poring over the submissions that we'll receive in anticipation of the 1/1 renewal season to try and find more high-quality underwriting opportunities. And thirdly, I think we'd like to expand our appetites beyond that business as usual that we have undertaken in the last year to engage a little bit more internationally. So try and find some opportunities outside the US market for both property cat and casualty opportunities. The mood music in the industry post Monte Carlo suggests that it's going to become increasingly competitive. And as we think about that, I think that means that we have to be very thoughtful about how and where we deploy our capacity. the opportunities that we've talked about internally, whether they're international property cat or pursuing our building our book in the U.S., continue to be there. But we will focus on slowly building out those long-term partnerships with clients.
It's interesting, isn't it? As you're looking to expand, as you're looking to grow your business, form more of those partnerships. What is your message to brokers and sedans as well in terms of why Brit?
Why Brit? I think I just mentioned the focus on that long-term partnership, and we've spent a great deal of time with brokers and seeding companies to try to understand exactly what that looks like from their perspective. Our goal is to be considered a stable capital partner ultimately to our clients and our customers. We want to be in it for the long term. We think that is the right approach in many ways, and it mirrors the philosophy of our ultimate parent, Fairfax. And I'd characterize that as patient but appropriately demanding capital, with exactly that long-term point of view that we're trying to engender with our clients. Our enterprise has obviously got growth and profitability metrics, which will guide our underwriting decisions. But we think we're approaching that from a position of relative strength with both the backing and the history of the firm and the brand. As a reinsurance broker in my former life, I established, I guess, my own points of view about what I thought value looked like in the reinsurance community, and I think that was echoed by many of the clients that I worked with over many years. And I characterize those as really clarity of appetite. Is it clear that as a reinsurance participant that the market distribution, the clients actually know what your capabilities are and what your appetites are? So we've been quite explicit in communicating that with the broker community and with our clients and prospective clients as we have the opportunity to meet them. What are we capable of looking at? How do we view risk? What is the capacity that we can put down on a slip? And not really the thing I used to dislike as a broker was the slow rolling of no's. When you're sort of chatting with a market that is ultimately not going to be able to support you, I'd rather hear that up front. So we thought that our approach to the market should be similar. We're going to be fairly explicit about our appetites. We're going to and tell them what it is that we think we're capable of pursuing and what is of interest and what isn't. And I think what goes along hand in hand with that is a speed of response and service. So the responsiveness of the business to the requests that we have to support opportunities in the reinsurance market. Collectively, I'd call that the ease of transaction. So for both clients and brokers to know that what it is that we're going to be able to do and how quickly we'll be able to do it. And that's sort of in the lead up to binding. And then following binding, the same philosophy applied to all of the post-transaction aspects of our business. It's from papering the transactions to accounting for them, and obviously the claims that will be associated with the business in the future. We want to handle those as effectively and as efficiently as possible. I think lastly, it's really about the stability and the durability of those relationships. And that kind of harkens back to this idea of a long-term partnership with our clients. You pick the right clients, the right line of business aligned with our capabilities and appetites. So we hope that should last over many, many years. So that's the message that we've been trying to deliver to the brokers. We've been trying to deliver to the cedants, and we're focusing on building a business that's actually capable of delivering against those aspirations. Now, those are soft metrics, if you will, and they have to be backed by good quality security, our AM Best rating, and the financial wherewithal that Brit Re represents.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about those opportunities if we can. Let's get into a little bit more detail. Are there any particular classes that you're focused on?
The history that we've discussed already within the kind of the reinsurance franchise that already exists inside Brit has really helped us develop our underwriting ethos here at Brit Re. We're looking to expand our appetite beyond the proportional casualty that we talked about a little bit earlier, and the predominantly U.S. property cat business that we write, and that focus is, I think, going to be taking those capabilities into the international markets as a sort of first port of call, But we have to make sure that we're building out the capabilities and the team to allow us to do that effectively. So we're spending a lot of time with the broker community to understand where those opportunities lie, and then focusing on how we fine tune our capabilities and technical understanding of that new business area to ensure that we can deliver against it, deepen our own understanding, and evolve our business appropriately. I think importantly, it's probably worth touching on the build out of our toolkit, if you will, for evaluating risk as well. While we've been in the business for 30 years, and we do of course make use of commercially available modeling, we do have our own evolving Brit Re view of risk that we like to deliver as we engage with underwriting submissions, and really think about evolving our pricing capabilities with the development of stochastic pricing tools, for example. And I think that's really going to help us create a business proposition that is responsive to today's needs, but is also going to position us for the future as that growth aspiration continues. So, any line of business that we're not in currently, we're going to develop with the same sort of philosophy that we've approached our business as usual underwriting. It's going to be thoughtful. It's going to be you're limited in appetite and capacity as we develop our sea legs underneath us, if you will. And we're going to focus on a range of customers where the product offering that we have across lines of business and the capacity that we are able to deploy is relevant to them.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And if you don't mind, Jonathan, one final question for you. Let's talk a little bit about your relatively new stomping ground, if we can. The Bermuda market, of course, is evolving quite rapidly. So how would you describe this evolution?
I think I took my first business trip to Bermuda in 1995 or 1996 as a broker at Guy Carpenter, and I was trying to source short tail capacity from this marketplace for non-property cat business. And it was an uphill battle. There was not a lot of appetite for anything here that didn't look like large U.S. property cat risks. Fast forward better part of 30 years, and the market is totally different today. It's so much more diverse, and of course, it's so much larger. Brit joined the Association of Bermuda Insurers and Reinsurers earlier this year. Part of that is again to reflect our commitment to the marketplace that we intend to be here for a long time, but it also gives us a seat at the table, talking about industry issues and challenges with an incredible complement of industry peers that have made Bermuda this massive reinsurance market. I looked at the numbers. It's 33 or 34 members of that association in their global undertakings write something like $180 billion of gross written premium around the world. It's a very, very significant market. So that 30-year evolution that I've experienced is definitely about scale, but equally importantly, it's that evolution of appetite around class of business. So it's evolved from a sort of a monoline cat underwriting community to one of casualty, cyber, marine, aviation, and all manner of specialty lines, including agriculture. And that makes it fascinating to be a part of this sort of very vibrant market. And I think the interest is, of course, that as that business continues to flow to Bermuda, there are opportunities for the participants here to diversify their own books as they build out their underwriting here. So it continues to grow. It continues to attract customers seeking additional capacity from the Bermuda market, diversifying their panelists to include more capacity from the companies that are situated here. And it continues to attract both Bermudian and international talent into the industry, which I think is super important as well. So I think I'd summarize by saying we're very pleased with our first year after the relaunch. We're actively demonstrating our presence in Canada, not in Canada. There's my baseball coming out of me. We're actively, demonstrating our presence in Bermuda, not only through our underwriting, but also through support of the industry, the ABIR I just mentioned, the Association of Bermuda International Companies, Masterworks, the place where we housed our event last year. We're kind of a sponsor of charitable sponsor of that organization as well. We've invested in a little advertising. We're trying to do some media, as you can see here, Paul, and we've also put a little bit of advertising up in the LF Wade Airport here. It's sort of a gentle reminder to the community at large and to lots of people traveling through Bermuda as they leave the airport, that there's a big banner showing Brit Re's sort of aspirations as you leave the customs hall. And it's a reminder that we are here, and a reminder that we're open for business.
There you go. A fascinating market and a fascinating discussion, Jonathan. Great to get your take, and indeed, huge thanks for your time. No doubt Brit Re will go from success to success, and we hope that you will follow its journey alongside that of the wider reinsurance industry right here at Reinsurance Business TV.